Before we jump into today's show, I've got a really exciting announcement to make. The autumn cohorts for Start Your Podcast group program are now open. There are 5 dates between September and October, and it's a 6-week program that will get you launched before Christmas. So if podcasting was on your to-do list this year, if you really want to get your podcast up and done by the end of 2023, then come and join me for one of those cohorts and let's make it happen. I have a free masterclass available for you called Understanding the Power of Podcasting. You can go over to donnaeade.com/masterclass, watch the masterclass and get access to that enrollment. I hope to see you in one of the autumn cohorts very soon. That's donnaeade.com/masterclass. Let's get back to the show. You're listening to the Wedding Procast UK, the place to be if you are a UK wedding professional looking to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade, 10-year wedding photography veteran and CEO at the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors. If you want to grow and streamline your business, this is the podcast for you. Make sure you hit subscribe where you listen or join our email list at www.spwv.co.uk. You'll find the sign up form at the bottom of every episode, and by doing so, you won't miss a thing. So let's jump into today's show. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Donna and I am here on my own today, and today we are going to be talking about something I think might be missing from your content catalogue. Wouldn't you believe it? We're talking about podcasting. I am super excited to bring this topic to you, and I hope that you will find value in it. The other exciting thing is not only is this a solo episode that I'm doing by myself for the first time in a while, but it is also my birthday podcast. So my birthday is this Saturday as you're listening to this, if you are listening when it goes live, and it is going to be my 40th birthday. Yeah, I'm still not quite sure how I feel about that, but I've said it out loud now, so it must be true, although everybody keeps telling me last year's didn't count, so I'm still 39, and I don't mind taking that at all. But yes, it is my birthday this weekend, so I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, getting to see some friends and family and just celebrating in a way that we can. So everybody sort of said to me at the beginning of the year, or at least sort of 3 months ago, you know, what are you planning for your birthday? You're going to have a big do. Like, we come out of lockdown on the 21st of June, so you're going to be the first person that gets to have their birthday, like, you know, really celebrate it, and it's your 40th, so, you know, you're going to do something big. And I was just like, I really put off organising anything because I just wasn't convinced that we would be restriction free, and I didn't want to plan something and have to rearrange it. So I stuck to a small affair. I'm having some family round in the afternoon. Hopefully the weather will hold out. I have got a covered area in my back garden, and we're going to have an afternoon tea, and then we are going out for dinner with friends in the evening, which I am looking forward to. So if you are a June baby, then do come over to the Wedding Procast group on Facebook and let me know that it's your birthday too, and we can celebrate together. So that out of the way, let's get into today's topic. If you have been a listener of the Wedding Procast for a while now, you will know that we have gone through some changes over the last 61 episodes. So we started off being called the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors podcast, because that is the company that I run. But we changed the name because we didn't want people to feel that it was a members only podcast. So we changed the name to the Wedding Procast UK. And then we have had a little bit of a brand reshuffle with our colours and fonts. So we look a little bit different to the way we did back at the beginning of 2020. Another big change obviously is my hair is a lot shorter now as well. thanks to everybody who donated to my fundraiser for the Little Princess Trust, Macmillan and Cancer Research UK. Raised over £1,400 and got to donate 16 to 20 inches of hair to the trust as well. So that was absolutely amazing, and I'm so appreciative of everybody who helped me to achieve that target. So with that being said, I just wanted to talk to you about how podcasting can really help your business and give you a lot of content and how you might start one. Podcasting is still very, very small when you compare it to things like blogs or YouTube channels. It's still very small, and the UK actually has a very small portion of podcasts based here. So if you are a UK podcaster and you're aiming at a UK audience, then you really are in a great position to get out there and get heard. A lot of podcasts hail from America. It's a very large audience over there, very large population of US podcasts, but it is growing over here and it is becoming more popular, and now is the time to really sort of get on that bandwagon, as it were, if you want to create something that's really sort of up there and stands the test of time. So it's a great alternative to blogging and doing videos. So if you aren't much of a writer or you struggle with your writing, then obviously talking can be a lot easier for people. So you've got that advantage. And if you don't like being on camera, which a lot of people aren't fans of, and in the wedding industry, we do tend to try and hide behind the cameras and stay behind the scenes, just making the days go smoothly without being too out there and in anyone's face. So you may not want to be on video, and podcasting is the perfect alternative to that. Because the great thing with podcasting is people get to hear your voice and they get to hear who you are. The other thing you can do is you can start without having to purchase any equipment. So you can start without any specialist equipment. You can start without having to pay for hosting. So I use and recommend Buzzsprout for hosting of podcasts. And what Buzzsprout does is it keeps your podcast on your own sort of Buzzsprout website, and then it pushes it out to all of the other podcast platforms for you. But you can actually start using that for free, which is fantastic. And I think last time I checked, it was that you got 90 days free, and you can actually keep it free. So if you're not bothered about your podcast falling off, you can actually just keep it there, and all it does is it knocks the first podcast you did comes off at the 90 days, and it just keeps dropping from the beginning off. So if you don't want to have a sequential podcast, if you aren't bothered about losing episodes, then you can actually host it for free for as long as you want. You will just only have 90 days worth of podcasts available to listen to. So I do recommend paying for the beginner package on Buzzsprout and keeping your podcasts on there, because you never know when you're going to come up to somebody, they're going to ask you a question and you can go, oh, I've got a fantastic podcast about that. And then, you know, if it ends up being one that was earlier than 90 days ago, you actually haven't got that podcast to share with them. So I would say pay for that initial package that Buzzsprout do, so that you can keep your podcast somewhere that's not on your site, not stored in your computer, is on a third party, but you don't have to pay to start with. So you can start for absolutely nothing using just what you've got in your house, which is fantastic. So why is podcasting great? Oh, one reason is there is so many ways you can repurpose a podcast. Like, it's literally endless. I saw a post about it today and I just thought, you know what, there is so much more I could do with my podcast, but I just simply haven't got the time. But if you struggle with creating social media content, your podcast is your best friend. So if you aren't shy about video, you could actually video the podcast as well as record it, and then you can actually have your own YouTube channel where you put your podcasts up on YouTube. Now, even if you don't like being on camera, you can have either a static image, or you could have some sort of B-roll that rolls round whilst your podcast is talking, because a lot of people actually will listen to just audio things on YouTube. So I know I have before now just wanted some background noise, and I've kind of done one of those sort of meditation type music. It's just in the background playing, or I've set up a playlist like a Christmas, or listen to Christmas music on the computer, and I'm not watching it, it's just playing in the background. So you can set up your podcast on YouTube without having to be on YouTube with your face. So you can stick it on YouTube. You can get it transcribed. So Otter AI is one of the transcription services. It is the best one I've come across. I've tried to use quite a few different ones to see how they work, and Otter AI has, for me at least, been the one that actually gets the words right the most often, so there's less editing to have to do afterwards on making sure that it makes sense. So you can use a transcription service, get it transcribed, and then you can post it to your website as a blog without you having to do the writing, which is fantastic. Another thing you can do is take quotes out of the episode, and you can then make social media graphics with those quotes, and you can use that obviously to send people back to the episode to listen to, but also just as a talking point for a post on social media. You can also take sound bites. Now, Buzzsprout actually has the ability to do this on their platform. They actually have an audio thing where you can choose a section of your podcast, where it starts and when it finishes, and then you can actually download just that little snippet of podcast speaking. And then you can use that on your social media. So you can put it in your stories to give people a hint of what the episode's about. You can use it as an introduction to the podcast and let people know what the episode is about. You can obviously create social media posts to advertise the episode. So, just letting people know that it's up, where to find it and how to listen. You can create a reel, maybe with the top 3 tips from the episode, or, 3 points from the episode, or you could even ask the question, do you struggle with this, that, or the other? Well, this podcast episode is going to help you. So you could create a reel around it. You can create an infographic. You can pop that up on Pinterest. You could do a social poll. So you could go onto your Facebook and do a poll. Have you listened to this week's episode? Did you agree with A or B? And things like that to get some interaction going. So there are plenty of ways, and that is by no means an exhaustive list, but there are plenty of ways that you can actually use your podcast. And I think you could probably easily create 3 weeks worth of touch points on your podcast. So you might not necessarily be like, it might not be 3 weeks worth of Facebook posts, but you could post on Facebook, you could post on Instagram, you can post on YouTube, you can post on Pinterest, you can post on Twitter, in Reels, do an IGTV. There are all these different parts of social media, and you could have at least 1 or 2 that are related to that episode, and you could easily reach 15 different posts over 3 weeks, which would be immense, and just take off some of that pressure of trying to think of other content to create. I don't recommend necessarily putting out all 15 posts back to back. You could spread it out a little bit, but it would certainly create traction for your episode and keep it top of people's mind if they follow you in more than one place. So the other thing to look at is your equipment, what you're going to use to create your podcast. And as I said, you can start for little to zero. You really can start from zero. I happened to have a lapel mic when I started, and I used that, but I have also broken my lapel mic, had no microphone, so just used my headphones that I use for my phone. So you don't need a fancy microphone to get started. You don't need to have a fancy laptop. The laptop that I used to record my podcast on was over 10 years old when I started. It was the slowest beast in the world, but it was pink, so I did love it. So you don't need to go and buy a new computer. You don't need to buy a new laptop. You don't need to buy a microphone. You don't need to buy anything fancy. You can download Audacity, which is what I use to edit my podcast. It is a free software, which is fantastic. So you download that to your computer. That is where you can record your podcast if you're going to do a solo show. If you are doing a interview show, then you would use something like Zoom to be able to record both sides of the conversation, and then you would import that into Audacity to edit it. So you don't actually need to pay for anything in that respect. And then, like I said, I use Buzzsprout to host my podcast, and I would just then, once it's edited, upload it to Buzzsprout, and then Buzzsprout would push it out to all of the other podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Stitcher, all of the different platforms. Buzzsprout will push your podcast out to. There are a few things that you need to do to make that happen, but it is pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory on their website, and they do talk you through it. So podcasts are a great way of connecting with your audience for you to give couples tips and hints and advice on planning their day. So hearing you speak, like I said, is really powerful. It just increases that know, like and trust factor when they can hear your voice, and it's more powerful than reading your words in that respect. So you could literally talk about one podcast episode for 3 weeks. Like I said, it's got so much content there for you to use that you could really easily get so much out of just one episode. And you don't have to do a podcast every week. Mine's weekly. You don't have to do one weekly. You could do one monthly, and that would just help top up your content strategy and get you out there. And you could use that one episode for the month and just put one out a month. You don't have to do it weekly. It's completely up to you. So if you are intrigued to look further into the possibility of hosting your own podcast, I would love to invite you to my podcast workshop, where I teach you exactly how to start a podcast from scratch. We go into depth in how to start off, what type of show you could do. I give you a template. So one of the things that I suggest you do, especially in the beginning, is have some sort of script for your podcast so that it keeps you on track and you don't forget things or miss things out. So I will give you my template so that you can follow that. I talk you through the equipment that I use, what I started with, what I upgraded to, and when I did that. And I also talk to you about how to actually launch your show and get it ready for that launch so that you make sure that it is the best launch you can have. And the workshop is just £49. And as a bonus, I give you a recording of that. So if you can't attend the workshop live, you can just get the recording. If you can come live, then you get the bonus of having the recording as well, so you can go back and listen to it. And what I also do is a separate 20-minute video on how to do some basic edits to your podcast so that you can get it up and online ready to go. So this workshop will guide you through from idea to published, and it is on the 7th of July at 1:30. And like I said, if you're attending live, it just means that you get to ask some questions and get them answered live as well. But like I said, if you can't, then a recording will be out by the 9th of July. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, it's a great way of you showing your expertise and your authority in your particular area of the wedding industry. So do head over to bit.ly/podcasting WS. Now in podcasting, the P is capitalised and WS is capitalised as well. If you don't do that, you will end up somewhere else. So it's bit.ly/podcasting WS. capital P, capital W and capital S there. If you would like to go over to the website, the link will be in the show notes, so you can head over to www.spwv.co.uk/blog and click on episode 61 and the link will be there for you. So I hope that has helped you understand podcasting a little more, give you some ideas, maybe spark some intrigue, and if you come on the podcast workshop, I will see you there. If not, I will see you here next week. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.